Okay, so I'll just go into the file select and we'll be ready to start timing when I start on the file. I'll give you guys a countdown if you want. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we're off to a start. Going to talk to Bottles and use LRB to skip text. It's a little bit of a hidden feature. But he's going to ask us if we want moves or if we think we're already good enough. Hopefully I'm already good enough, so I'm going to go straight ahead, and now we know all the spiral mountain moves. So that FFM glitch that I did before doesn't give us all the moves right away. I actually have to get into the first level before I do that. And that's just a quirk of how the glitch works, because you have to go through a loading zone in Grunty's lair to get the moves back. Yeah, so this category is 100%, and what that means is, well, we're going to get all the things. So specifically, it's everything on the total screen. So on the total screen, you have jiggies, notes, and honeycombs, so I'm going to get all those. What's not included in 100% is things like Mumbo tokens. There are 125 Mumbo tokens in the whole game, and actually recently we discovered a 126th Mumbo token, sort of. But we don't have to get all those, we just get what we need out of those. And yeah, we don't get things like the stop and swap items because, well, you can only do that once per cartridge anyway, so you wouldn't want to buy a new cartridge every time you did a run. So we're just going through Spiral Mountain collecting up these honeycombs. 6 in total, and every time we get 6 pieces, we're going to get more health. So the route's actually kind of built around that a little bit in terms of what levels we do in what orders. And with the newest addition to the route, we actually do Gobi's Valley a little bit earlier, which means that it's a bit harder because we have less health. So we got all the honeycombs now, and I'm just going to finish up Spiral Mountain. Coming up is actually a new trick, very, very recent, only in the last couple of days. It's an alternate method to bottle skip. And it's really hard, so I'm probably going to mess it up. And I haven't really practiced it much since it came out, but no. So what we used to do is actually high jump up to the platform there with Bottles and then jump across, but that's a lot quicker, as you can see, because I just rolled and pecked. And that is a 209 spiral, which is not bad considering it's a missed bottle skip. There you go. You can actually get sub 2 minutes, but it's incredibly difficult. Okay, and moving on through Grunty's lair, I'm going to do things called flutter cancels, hopefully. So basically what you can do in this game is flutter on the ground like that. And that's actually a frame-perfect trick. The funny thing about those flutter cancels, you actually can't do those on the Australian version of the game due to the frame rate being a bit slower. On NTSC, which I'm playing on the US version, you have a little bit more time to press A, release A, and press A again. So that's a little fun fact about version differences there. We play on the American version, it's about 30 seconds faster than the Australian version, all up. And I'm actually on a Japanese console playing the American version and using my Australian power adapter, so speedruns have to be pretty adaptive. As you can see now, I've got Talon Trot right off the start in Mumbo's Mountain, so that's the FFM glitch in action. I've got all the moves except for using eggs, red feathers, and gold feathers, because I want the refills. Coming up as well is like a little glitch in Ticker's Tower, we call it Termite Skip. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing here is normally you need the termite from Mumbo to go up this tower, but with some clever slope manipulation we can get up. Basically, Banjo is supposed to slip off these slopes, but if you do careful jumps over the flat ground, he doesn't slip off. Oop. And that termite's RNG, sometimes he can get in your way. Or that ant, as a lot of runners will say. But yeah, that's termite skip basically. What's happening there is Banjo's shadow is going over flat ground. Every time his shadow goes over flat ground, the game thinks, oh hey, he's not over a slope, we'd better not make him slip off. And then, and when you're over a slope with your shadow, you have like a second, I'm gonna do this glitch as well. You have like a second over a slope to basically be on there before you slip off. So you don't spend more than a second over a slope, your shadow goes over flat ground, and then you can get up there without the termite. So what I did just before there as well, I killed that termite randomly down on the ground there. That's not a glitch that we normally do, but I decided, well, in this run I'm going to show off some of the stuff that you might not normally see in 100%. That glitch that I did saves a tiny bit of time if it's done optimally, but knowing me, I probably won't do it optimally. So basically what's going to happen is killing that termite affects what direction the G will come out of this pad here. Oh no. Yeah, okay, I completely messed it up then. Oh well. So basically what was going to happen is that Jiggy that just came out there was going to overlap with the Jiggy that Conga spits out, and then if they're touching each other, then you only touch one Jiggy and have one Jiggy dance, or Jiggy Jig as we call it. But yeah, I made the Jiggy come out of the wrong pad there, so that's not going to happen. Oh well. So we're going to learn eggs from bottles here. So this is one of the only moves we'll actually learn in the run. And as you can see, we got 50 right away. All right, so just going through and cleaning this up. I was shooting Conga blind there with the eggs as well. I took a bit more eggs than I wanted. You can shoot him with one egg across from there and it's faster, but of course you have to hold a really weird angle on the stick to actually get him there. You might be noticing, like with my general movement, right now I have Talon Trot, so I can just keep Talon Trotting and jumping. Jumping is the fastest way to move in Talon Trot, so unfortunately you're going to be hearing a lot of it. Here's a new glitch as well. We might be able to get that Mumbo token, or we can't. So that new glitch there was going to be, you can actually roll across that bridge, and Banjo's nose in the roll will go through the bridge and touch the token. That's a really new weird thing, and it's quite cool that right before this marathon happened, a bunch of new things I found. In Spiral Mountain we saw the new bottle skip, and there we saw the roll, and like not that long ago we had an impulse skip. So this game is very different from probably the last time you may have watched a 100% run.
So we've got $13.12 from Crazy Jesse saying, "Good on you, mate. Good luck on the run."
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, and you probably noticed that we had the Jiggy dances going quite a lot in this run. And we're going to try and skip as many of those Jiggy dances as we can. So this is an example. If Banjo grabs a Jiggy in the water, he won't do the dance. This Jiggy's on land, but we can take it into the water, so no dance there. And that was the 10th Jiggy, so instead of 4 seconds like usual, that dance would have taken 8 seconds. And it would just be finished like now. So you can see how much time that saves. The last half of Termite skip is here. Again, similar concept, go over flat ground to reset your slope timer. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. And going with the theme of doing stuff in this run that I wouldn't normally do, I'm going to do TTC early, for those who know what that is. If not, basically there's this level Treasure Trove Cove that we're supposed to open. I'm not going to open it, and I'm just going to clip in instead. Nobody does this in 100%, and it's really stupid. It only saves like 2 or 3 seconds if you do it optimally, and it's incredibly difficult. But, you know, it's a marathon, so let's have a bit of fun. So I'm opening Clankers. We can't get into Clankers without opening it, at least not RTA. There is a tool-assisted speedrun method to get into Clankers, which me and Isotage found, but yeah, no humans getting in there without opening it, that's for sure. But we can get into TTC. So this trick has an interesting history. Chronicies, back in I think 2012, found it, but she thought it was an emulator error, and then I found that it wasn't. So basically you just need a lot of lag and you can get through this cannon here. And then we'll swim it under. Oh, this is a bit dodgy. No, all right. Well, I think you get the idea anyway. Hopefully I can pull it off this time. And you can probably see why people don't do this in 100%, because I'm pretty sure it's taken me a bit more than 3 seconds so far to try this. Yeah, so there's sort of 3 things that's going on with this trick. You got to clip out of bounds, which is hard. Then you got to hit the water level, and then you got to get into the chest. So lots of places for this to go wrong. That too. That is the thing that can happen. Yeah. All right. Good. Now let's just. And there we go. So yeah, the only reason that I do TTC early there is because it's in any percent. But yeah, you wouldn't want to do it in 100%. We'll see another trick like that later. I'm actually a little bit concerned right now. Bottles was supposed to give me a little bit of text at the start of this level saying, hey, there's like moves to learn, but he didn't, so. Let's just hope I did FFM right. Otherwise I might have to be collecting a lot of red feathers throughout the run, which wouldn't be very good. We'll see how we go here. No, that was fine. That is honestly quite a bit of a surprise to me. I think that might have something to do with the fact that I didn't open TTC. Usually Bottles is there saying, hey, you've got to learn flying. This is a quick dive, by the way. Bottles is there saying, hey, you've got to learn flying, and then, yeah, then you learn it. But I guess if you don't open TTC, the thing doesn't come up. With Blubber here, we're going to try and get him to be this is like beautiful. So we stand in the spot that the Jiggy's going to be, and then we can get it during the cutscene. That Blubber is RNG, so if you're on a good run, he can just decide, hey, I'm going to cost you 4.5 seconds by not being in that spot. So yeah, there's quite a bit of RNG in this run, but it's all like little minor things. It used to be a massive factor in the run, but it's getting less and less RNG. All right. And this is the first of the flying sections, which are always fun. And of course, I've missed the note already, but that's okay. We'll come back and get it. So flying sections are probably the thing that people have the most trouble learning when they start this game. I count the flaps that I'm doing. That's sort of how I approach it, but yeah, obviously we don't want to land. There we go. And I have Big Bomb already in TTC, so. Normally you wouldn't have this move till Frazizi Peak, but there it is. So for a very long time, we were like, oh yeah, we'll just do TTC how we used to do it after FFM came out. That's the moves glitch. But then I think Hyper and Cole at one point just said, hold on, well, why don't we actually use Big Bomb in TTC? So then the levels started looking really different after that. I'm a bit low on feathers, more than I would like to be, just due to that mess up flight there, but I will see how we go. I think I should be okay. So you notice Banjo like sunk right to the bottom of that pool there as soon as I went in. That's something called a quick dive, and what happens there is if you're in Talon Trot, which is this move on Kazooie's legs, basically when you're exiting Talon Trot, nothing can really interrupt you, and that includes the water surface. So if you exit Talon Trot as you're going into the water, then yeah, you just sink right in because the game doesn't know what to do. It also works with entering Talon Trot, but it's a little bit harder and not really used. So you can see, like, we're often just grabbing Jiggies in flying. Not that one, I guess, but we're grabbing Jiggies in flying because, once again, you get that dance if you're on foot, but if you're flying or swimming or a transformation, you don't get that dance. So we're constantly routing the levels to try and grab heaps of stuff in flying or swimming if we can. Coming up here is probably the hardest and most important quick dive in the run. So quick dive is what I did just before. And this one is very precise. And yeah, we get that honeycomb. So if I didn't get that quick dive, I would have had to actually use the swimming diving move under the water. And then Snacker would have just had a good old time having his dessert. So we don't want that. And this here is Nipper skip, so we can jump into Nipper and then, yeah. Normally you have to wait for a whole cycle of him trying to claw you and then not trying to claw you, and then it's just a mess. So it's just easy to jump in there. And that glitch Nipper skip was really old. That's been around for as long as I can remember. There are some really old glitches in this game, like from 2002 and stuff, but then most of the glitches kind of happened after 2012 when Chronic basically went on a rampage finding banjo glitches, including some of the major skips of this game. And then it sort of went dormant sort of around 2013, 2014, and then like Hyper started doing Taz work, Civ started doing a lot of RTA, and then like I was doing a lot of any percent finding glitches. So this game's quite technical now, especially in terms of its Taz. There's lots of things in a tool-assisted speedrun that you wouldn't normally see in RTA, and me and Hyper are supposed to be working on the any percent Taz at the moment. It's been on a bit of hold, but we hope to come back to it soon. Leaky's down there as well, he's going to poop some eggs into it. And yeah, so if you haven't heard of a Taz before, it's basically like a superhuman play, so you can choose exactly what buttons to press and not make any human mistakes. And this game has a lot of crazy Taz things, like as I was saying before, Clankers early. And there's this skip for Furnace Fun, the quiz at the end. Yeah. Beautiful. All right, good. That's the hardest flying section, so I'm really happy to have gotten that. Well, not yet. This isn't really that slow though. Yes, I get 2 jiggy jigs, which are 8 seconds, but this movement is a little bit faster now because I'm not having to fly to this jiggy. But yeah. Basically, that flying section is really hard because you want the Jinjo and the Honeycomb all in the same beacon. But yeah. The thing that can happen with the Jinjo in that flying section is you can actually go through the Jinjo. Because there's like, before you hit the Jinjo is 1 frame, and then the next frame you're already past the Jinjo. So yeah, that Jinjo, people don't like it. I'm gonna do this skip here as well. Yeah. Oh, it's so close. But the idea there is you jump from the water, and if you don't touch the ground yet, the game still thinks you're in the water and you don't get the dance. Skipping that jiggy dance there is exactly the same speed as not skipping it, just because you have to wait so long to break the chest if you skip the dance. But yeah, I kind of like doing that skip. Nobody really does it, because, I mean, what's the point? Now I gotta spell Banjo-Kazooie, so that is easily the hardest part of the run right here. Good thing I have my trusty cartridge right in front of me. Yep. Oh. I should not make fun of the game. Alright, we're going to try and get this jiggy and die. Alright, good. So that jiggy would have an 8-second dance, but I mean, we need to die because that gets us back to the start of the level really quickly, and we need to skip the dance, so there you go. And 1837 TTC is not, well, not bad considering it had TTC early in it, I suppose. Yeah, I'm actually going to grab some extra feathers here just because of what happened before. This boring layer movement is a good time for donations if we do have any.
We're all caught up on donations, but just to remind everyone that we're raising money for Beyond Blue. It's a charity we've been with for a few years now and doing good work with focused around issues of depression, anxiety, and mental health awareness. And yeah, we're trying to aim for that 5,000, which we're going on track very well. And I reckon with a good effort, we could even get that before the end of this UniSA part of the marathon. So please get those donations in, folks.
So coming into Clankers, this level, I'm sure was everyone's favorite casually. It's all about cycles in the speedrun, really. So basically, Gloop is moving around down the bottom. That's the fish that gives you bubbles. Clankers is moving around up the top with his bolt going in and out and his tooth going in and out of the water and all that. And yeah, so we're really going to have to be, if you save or lose time in this level, it's usually multiples of 10 seconds, because that's how long Clanker takes to go up and down. Yeah, so there's a few different cycles you can make. There's one that's really, really difficult to make. Basically what happens is you come down right as Gloop is shooting a bubble up, and you can grab the bubble on the way down. But this cycle that I'm making is generally a lot safer, especially in a marathon, and it only loses 10 seconds to the optimal cycle. And with the optimal cycle, you have to do like this really silly jump at the start, which is a similar concept to termite skip. You're manipulating the slope there, but you have to do it quickly as well, so yeah. Just gonna go up and grab this bubble. So this is why this cycle is a little bit slower, because you have to kind of go out of your way to grab Gloop's bubble there. But yeah, it's not too bad. So we're going to try and cram as much as we can in the swim, just because it's really slow to go down and up into and from the water. So I'm going to get the blue ginger here too, and there's another swim at the end that gets all the other things that I didn't get in this swim, and it actually drowns on purpose. So yeah, this level is quite scary, and it looks quite scary, but honestly it's not really too bad, because you just get used to making the exact same cycles every time. But yeah, what I'm really waiting on here is Clanker's tooth, so that's going in and out of the water, and I have to shoot that with eggs, so that's really what's going to determine which multiple of 10 seconds I make this on. And I'm on pace to make the one I usually do, so it's pretty good. Alright, so upcoming is the rings now, and the Banjo runners kind of like to look at the in-game timer for the rings, because it gives you the in-game timer. Sure, if people in Twitch chat are eager to guess what I can get, or people in the audience, we'll see how we go. I reckon it's going to be a 21. Yeah. Maybe. I've gotten 22 sometimes, but it's not easy. I think the Taz gets a 24 or something. All right, so now we're on a big cycle again with Clanker's bolt here. So this is a bit harder than the first part of the level, that first cycle. Basically, there's this really tight cycle that you can make on the bolt, and that's the optimal one you can make. And then the Banjo runners recently were like, hey, let's get a Mumbo token as well. So now it's even harder. And I fell off there. Basically what you can do is something called bolt jump, where you jump from where I was to this little climby pole that I'm about to go to. I don't really mind that I fell off there. So that'll cost me 10 seconds, but if I miss bolt jump, that costs me 20 seconds, so I don't mind too much. And this is that Mumbo token that they added recently. So you can get that Mumbo token without losing time, but of course it makes this whole bolt cycle a lot more difficult. And this honeycomb as well. You have to kind of high jump back out, because otherwise you have to get that honeycomb and fall down, and of course that messes with our Clanker's route quite a bit. So yeah, that high jump's a little bit finicky. Yep, so that's a bolt going back in there, so I got plenty of time to make this next cycle. And there we go. Alright, so going through to learn gold feathers in this next couple of rooms. Gold feathers is actually pretty funny. We would learn it through FFM, but it turns out that you actually need the flying move to learn the gold feathers move. So there's no way to actually learn it in FFM without having already learned flying, which of course we don't want because feathers are really tight. So I'm gonna have to learn gold feathers here, but that doesn't really cost very much time at all. And you're supposed to use gold feathers to get through these fans, but yeah, speedrunners just have the best reflexes, so there you go. It turns out that if you stand on the very corner of that hallway, you just don't get hit at all. So you just do that and go and get the notes pretty much. This is a quick divey sort of thing. So you get into talent shot and leave it in the air. So by the time you actually hit the water, you're halfway through leaving it. That one's pretty hard, but it doesn't cost that much time if you lose it. These snippets, I want to egg them, so like that. Not the best, but I can get up there and then you stand where the Jiggy's going to be. So I mean, there you're really overlapping the cutscene of the Jiggy spawning with collecting the Jiggy, and that saves quite a bit of time, similar to what we did with Blubber before, and it's quite a common theme. So I'm going to get into the water like as quick as I can there, and it probably looks really weird because I could have jumped further into it, but in this swim here we're basically going to drown because we need to die to get back to the start of the level quickly. So this is a 60-second auto scroll, a good time for donations if we have any.
Nothing yet, but just give some reminders on some of our upcoming incentives. Coming up later tonight, we have the bidding war for the Link to the Past file name. So that's currently still just got two options right now, Bruh, which is at $10.95, and Yeet at $37.20, but still close enough. If you're a fan of Bruh, you could swing that, or of course put a third option in. Still plenty to see. And then later on, for the Avcon part of the run, we still have a bidding war for which color spy to use in the Spy vs. Spy run, which between black and white, which has no donations yet, so plenty to influence. We also have the Simpsons Hit and Run Glitch exhibition, which needs another $80-ish to be met, and the Dustin Elysian Tale Glade Blindfolded, which still needs another $25. So be sure to get in for those if you want to see that.
I'm going to try and get the frame perfect jump here. No. There's this thing you can do at the end of Banjo's slide where you can jump in the air, and the Taz uses that a lot, but it's frame perfect. So we only have one spot in the run, and that was in Clankers, that it would have been useful. But yeah, I'm hoping to put more in because I really like them. I'll try and do a few more in the run if I get the opportunity to. And yeah, so if you just played Banjo casually, you might notice, well, I didn't open Bubblegloop Swamp and I'm going straight past it. There's a very good reason for that. We're actually doing Bubblegloop Swamp last. And we'll see why when it comes to the end. It's due to a glitch called Reverse B Adventure. But right now I'm going to Frazizi Peak. You might also be wondering, well, you know, I didn't open Frazizi Peak. That's right near Bubblegloop Swamp, and well, I'm gonna get in there early as well. So this glitch, it was discovered by Chronicies back in 2012. And it's called Frazizi Peak Early, but basically you also need the Big Bomb move to do the glitch, and you get the Big Bomb move in Frazizi Peak, so it wasn't actually useful because, well, you need the move from the level to get into the level. But turns out that now with FFM, which was in 2014, I think, well, we can just get in there. So yeah, thanks to FFM, not only do we have all the moves from the start and not have to talk to bottles, we can get into Frazizi Peak without paying. So this is going to be a bit of serious time here. You can Big Bomb right into the door from here, but might not risk that, because if you miss it, then you have to do the trick again. So there we go, Frazizi Peak Early. But don't celebrate too soon, because I've got to do that trick yet again in this round. So it's actually, back in the day, people would do the levels in a pretty standard order, so they would do Bubblegloop right after Clankers for a really, really long time. And then I came along one day and basically discovered this route that is what I'm doing now. And it does Frazizi Peak now in all the levels, and then leaves Bubblegloop right to last. And basically we're going to take the B through the lair, the B from Click Block Wood, and just grab all the Gs through the lair, and also use the B to clip into Bubblegloop Swamp early. And that saves like a minute and a half. It's called the RBA route. It's much more difficult than the standard no RBA route that they were using, but you know, it saves a minute and a half, so people do it. And yeah, so that basically what I was thinking is like, oh yeah, this will be a bit fun. People are probably going to hate it, and they're probably not going to do it. And for a long time they didn't, because it was just too hard. But now pretty much everyone does the RBA route if they're playing super competitively in this category. And the reason that the RBA route is hard is because of that trick that I just did before, FP early. And then, like after I found the RBA route, I found that you also had to skip the 450 note door, and that saved about 12 seconds. So we do another trick, which is basically FP early again to save 12 seconds. And so you have to do 2 of those in the run. Oop. Did not mean to bonk off that star, but there we go. Yeah, so a bit of my background with this game, I guess, I was running a lot of Sandcastle percent when I started. Sandcastle percent is basically like the fastest way to beat the game. But it's any percent with cheats. So a lot of people don't like it just because it's using cheats. But I found it to be pretty fun. So I ran a lot of Sandcastle percent and then any percent, and then recently I caved in and started doing a bit more 100%. 100% is the vastly more popular category for this game. 100% has, I think, like 300 runners now, and any percent has maybe 20 runners. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. For a long time, any percent you could only run on the Australian version of the game. Sorry, not Australian, like the PAL version, so Australian or European. And you couldn't run it on the US version. And but yeah, now the fastest version for every category, if you're playing on N64, is just the US version. Yeah, another thing with any percent is we found a glitch on Xbox which made that faster than N64. The glitch makes you not able to 100% the game though, so 100% is still fastest on N64, and any percent is fastest on Xbox. But yeah, And 80% is down to like an hour and 3 now. I'm hoping to push a sub-hour soon. Yeah, these snowmen are pretty funny in that they'll recoil you weirdly. You get a feel for how they recoil you, but it's not always possible to do it. You want to get them to recoil to the next snowman pretty much and not land, so... yeah. So those snowmen weren't like fantastic, but the fact that I didn't land was good, because if you land, then you have to go and find another fly pad. It's really awkward. And we got no washing machine so far. This game has like a, I think it's like a 10% chance. No, it's a 1 in 20 chance to get a washing machine and a 1 in 40 chance to get a T-Rex. And basically that's like a joke thing that can happen. Mumbo will try and transform you into a washing machine. He says, oh no, and then transforms you to the proper thing. And like, yes, it's funny, but it also wastes 10 seconds if it happens. So we'll see if we get any in this run. A lot of the times where I had like the world record in 80%, I would get washing machines, and I think Civ had the same fate with 100% quite a few times. So it's a bit of a joke that if you get a washing machine, it usually means the run is pretty good. Another little bit of new tech here is you can kind of like take a jump at the start of the race, like that jump there. I don't know why it took us so long to find that. But this walrus race is actually really weird, because normally you don't want to jump up slopes, but if you do, as the walrus, it gives you this massive speed boost. So I'm going to be like purposely hitting a lot of slopes and jumping up them. And yeah, so this race looks okay, but it's actually really scary, because if you get too far behind Boggy, he'll actually just give up and, you know, end the race, and you lose. So when I was grabbing those notes around the feet there, it was actually pretty intense, because if I made a little movement mistake, I would lose the race. Even though I probably could have caught up to him later on. And Boggy also loves to rubber band, so yeah, if I do too good, he's going to go really fast, and it's actually going to be harder. But yeah, we're taking a lot of time to grab a lot of stuff through the race. It's partially just to deal with this rubber banding, it's partially because, well, we need the stuff and we're not going near those areas at all. Especially the feet, I was grabbing those footnotes before, and we don't even go near the feet at all unless we're in a race. So I could grab these 2 notes here, but you know, I'm not about to risk losing a minute to losing this race. So there we are. Here's Wazza. He likes to discriminate. He'll only give the jiggy to the walrus, not the bear. Go for it.
So we've got an anonymous $11.31 donation saying hello from Canada, and a $107.02 donation from Growley saying fantastic job. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, those hills there can actually be a massive pain. Banjo, when he goes down slopes, just loves to like jump off the hill a little bit. It's kind of weird. It happens differently between PAL and NTSC as well. But yeah, I don't know. That seems to be a bit better in the Xbox version as well. I actually really like the Xbox version. Like normally when they remake a game, they might mess up the controls or something, but the Xbox version seemed to really nail it. I mean, they're basically just emulating the N64 version in the remake, but I don't care. I think it's still pretty good. And it's really nice to actually not have to use a N64 controller on the Xbox version. I'm sure for those who had N64s growing up, they would remember the pain of the joysticks becoming loose over time. And they're generally pretty hard to fix. So yeah, it's nice to have options for this game for like a more modern controller, you could say. And yeah, that's the other good thing about this game is that basically every, like, no matter what version you have, you can usually run it pretty competitively. Like, if you pick up an Xbox in Australia, you have the best version for 80%. If you have an N64 in Australia, you have like only 30 seconds slower for 100%. If you live in America, you've got N64 version, which is the best version, US. And yeah, learning this game as well, there's lots of resources on like places like speedrun.com. I've made far too many tutorials for like any percent and sandcastle percent and stuff. And I've never made a 100% tutorial myself, but I've been meaning to. And like there's heaps of 100% tutorials floating around. Problem is the route just keeps changing so much that you know, you make a tutorial and by the time it's uploaded to YouTube, it's obsolete. So yeah. This is the only time we're actually going to see this full jiggy 8-second dance for the 10th jiggy there as well. And this tunnel here, you're supposed to go through it with the Walrus, but that's slow, so we want to go through it as Banjo. But you know, he takes a lot of damage there. I got 1 extra health for this tunnel just in case I was an idiot and messed up, but there we go. And yeah, so now we're moving on. So basically the situation with the routing here is we have 400 notes. Joy and Mad Monster Mansion, we need 450 notes for the note door. We could go and do Gobi's Valley now, but then we would have to sort of go into where that puzzle is and then go out of it. Whereas in this route that I'm about to do, we're going to open Gobi's Valley on the way to Mad Monster Mansion. So this trick that I'm about to do, again, is another one like for FP early, but it only saves like 12 seconds and it's really stupid. Good. I'm a bit low here, but it's okay. There. So yeah, so the whole point of doing that is just to open Gobi's on the way to Mad Monster Mansion rather than taking a massive detour for it. And I was the one who originally like thought, hey, let's do that in the route. And I was being a little bit cheeky because I thought, well, maybe people won't want to do it and then they'll come and run any percent instead. I like any percent, but no, they just kept running 100% and they actually got really good at the trick as well. So that trick that I was doing, like people were bad at it for a really long time. And I think, like, yeah, for example, it saved like 5 or 6 minutes in a category called any percent no RPA and people still wouldn't do it. Whereas it saves like, that one saved 12 seconds in 100% and people are doing it now. So yeah, that's just the nature of speedrunning over time. I think categories just tend to get more optimized. You look back to what people were doing in 2012 and you think, well, it was just a whole different thing than speedrunning back then. And I got another quick dive here as well. Just little things to save time in this game. And that's the thing that's also good about this game. I mean, I know there's been lots of crazy glitches in this run, but in general, it's more about your movement rather than how many crazy glitches you can pull off. Like, look at it like something compared to DK64 or Ocarina of Time or 2D placeholder example. There's like heaps of glitches there, whereas here they're just spread out. And there are still little glitches, like, for example, like right now I'm going to try and pull off getting into Talon Trot and going through a door at the same time, but only just the like micro time saves. Yeah. So basically what Gobi's Valley first would look like is, so if I didn't do 450 skip just then, I would have to go into this room, go all the way up to this painting here, open Gobi's Valley, then go back out of this room, then go through to Gobi's Valley, which is like the room that I went past going to FP. So yeah, that's why 450 skip is so good. And yeah, one thing that would actually save a lot of time in this category is Mad Monster Mansion early. So if I could get into this level without clipping into it, because then I wouldn't have had to do 450 skip. But turns out you actually can do Mad Monster Mansion early. And it only works on the PAL version, but it's once again TAS only.
We've got another $32.30 donation from Vod, which says, "Woohoo!" And just to remind everyone, if you do want to donate in for any of the incentives, you can just include that as part of the donation message and it'll be put towards that. You can check it out there in the chat. Just typing !incentive for more information.
The one thing that I wanted to show off there a bit is, so Nappa's room has a really weird thing. You may have heard an extra life sound when I grabbed that Jiggy. What can happen in Nappa's room is you can actually teleport objects across the room when you're grabbing that Jiggy for some weird reason. And it has to do with pooping eggs before it, and then when the eggs disappear as the Jiggy's in your hand, it does some weird stuff. We don't fully understand it yet, and I get really excited about that because, you know, what if it works elsewhere and it could be really useful. But yeah, there's one thing that you can do in that room that saves quite a bit of time that I was kind of trying to do. You can actually teleport the door in that room to where Nappa is, and then you don't have to break the door when you're exiting. It saves barely any time, but it's kind of cool. And here's the pots that say questionable phrases to you. Fun fact about those pots, yeah, so they are saying thank you, but when they were actually recording the voice, they had to keep redoing it because Nintendo did not think they were saying thank you. There's another bit where runners like to look at their in-game time. Usually you can get like a 50 or something. It's kind of... We like to grab notes as well on the way, and that makes it like really difficult. Yeah, like that. Basically, this tumbler thing is weird as well, because like you can get a 50 if you didn't mess up like I just did, and even a 51. But not if you skip the text at the start. Like if you skip the text, the timer starts sooner. So a lot of runners will like go into Tumblr and skip the text as the cutscene is going. And then they'll get like a 46 or something and think, well, what am I doing wrong? Like, why can't I get a 50? But that's why. It took me a really long time to figure that out. All right, moving on to another like cutscene skippy thing with this Junjo. This one's actually going to be a bit harder than the one I did in Rumbo's Mountain, but it's basically the same concept. So I want to skip this dance, and this does like so many things that it's really important that I get it. Yep, there we are. So not only does that skip the dance, but I can get that token in the whip crack there. Normally you couldn't get into that whip crack to get the token, but basically what that skipping the dance allows you to do is it makes Banjo invincible for a little bit, and he gets in there. If I didn't get that, I would have to like use gold feathers to break the whip crack, and then that throws off the gold feather counts, and it's just a whole mess. And up here we have Mozart. He's going to teach us a little song to play on the piano, and we're going to play it back to him. But it turns out if you already know the song, you can just play it back to him. So let's just hope my memory doesn't fail me here. The funny thing about this piano, you can play like the same note twice and it'll be a different note. What they actually tried to do is to make the note match whatever chord was playing in the song in like the background music. So that's sort of what's going on there. Now I'm going to do the part where all the other runners really hate my camera here, but I love it. Like, just, yeah. The reason they hate it is because you can't see what that enemy is, but yeah, I just love doing the camera like that for some reason. There's also really funky things you can do with the camera in this game, like, I really love the camera, and it's like, for it to feel so good, it has to be really complicated. My brother looked into how it actually works, and to determine what the camera's actually doing, it uses something like 30 different variables, so it's just ridiculously complicated. But as a result, it feels really good, unless it like flips on you or something. But yeah, basically with the camera in this game, you can do heaps of different setups to kind of like reduce lag or something that I've just been doing all through it. And lag in this game usually isn't too bad, but so like if you're just moving as Banjo and it lags a little bit, you won't slow down, for example. Like Banjo moves faster to compensate for the lag, but with certain things, like you actually want it to be not laggy. And if it gets like super laggy, like right now it's running at 30 frames a second. If it drops below 20 frames a second, then you will actually start losing a bunch of time. So yeah, there's lots of like really subtle things you can do in this game. And something that helps a lot with that is Mittens. A guy called Mittens, he made something called the practice menu. And what that does basically is, well, it lets you practice and makes retrying levels easier rather than having to play the game up to that level every time. And like heaps of useful tools, like he had a lag monitor and information about Banjo's exact speed and position, and just like heaps of useful features. I think that like, yeah, for people who do the technical work like that, like, yeah, you see the top runners at the top of the leaderboards and they put in like so much work to get there, but there's also so many people behind those runners who are figuring out everything about the game, doing a bunch of technical work like Mittens and Isotage, basically like figuring out the game. Or Hyper Resonance and Captain Cole, who came up with most of the routes for this game. Yeah, so I think it's always really good to shout those people out. Of course, like the runners at the top also do like heaps in that domain. Stivity Bobo especially, like he's always coming up with new routes and like new glitches and stuff, which is really good to see because I mean he's sunk heaps of time into this game, and as a result, well, he has the world record in this category and N64 any percent as well. And yeah, so it's good to see him. Like he found the method to do RVA, which we're going to see later on NTSC, and like he found a bunch of new routes and stuff. Yeah, so we're just finishing up here. I've got like way too much health, but it's kind of like a marathon safety thing. For a long time, people thought it was quicker to do the well as Banjo rather than as a pumpkin, but I think it was Connor75. He plays, like he had the DK record for a while. He was just randomly playing like a casual playthrough of this, and he started doing the well as the pumpkin because he was not confident in doing it in Banjo. And then we were like, hold on, that's actually faster. So yeah, it's funny how like people can just come into the community, suggest random things, and it'll actually turn out to be faster. A similar thing we'll see in Furnace Fun, Impulse Skip, which saved like 2 minutes, a new glitch. Alright, so Mad Monster Mansion is kind of like the bottleneck of the lair progress. I have to do this thing with the pumpkin and go in here and raise the water level before Banjo can get to the last 2 levels. So we're raising the water. It's actually really, really slow to walk out of this room, so I'm just gonna reset. It was a bad run, so we'll try again. Yeah, so to get out of that room, you have to go back into the pumpkin and then slowly walk out of the room and slowly walk back to the lair and slowly detransform. Whereas it's just quicker to reset. We're right back to the start of the lair here. And it lets us get that witch switch jiggy from Clankers. If that jiggy wasn't there, then the reset would actually be slower. So yeah, this lair movement's a good time for donations if we have any.
Don't have any donations yet, but I just go over some incentives. It's been a bit. Coming up tonight, we have the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past file name, Bid War, which is currently between Bruh and Yeet. Bruh being at 10.95 and Yeet at 37.20, but still plenty of time to influence that, or suggest your own 4-letter name, or up to 4-letter. And then later on, we have the Spy vs. Spy bid war between the Black and White Spy, which is still even with no donations, and our Simpsons Hit and Run Glitch Exhibition, which needs another roughly $80-ish, and the Dustin Elysian Tail Glade Blindfolded, which needs another $25. So yeah, if you're watching and have a bit to spare, please donate and be sure to just mention in the message if you want to see any of those things.
So yeah, for those who have seen Banjo speedruns, you probably remember Gobi Clip, just getting into that Sphinx there. Turns out it's actually not that much faster than just opening the Sphinx normally. And like through a bunch of other factors, it turns out that it's actually worth just to open the Sphinx normally here. Gobi Clip is a little bit faster, but only if you do it like really optimally. And of course, there's the potential to die, so you don't want that. Yeah, I'm like super low on eggs here, so I might just do that. Alright, so coming out of here, I'm going to jump into a ring, and these rings are actually pretty weird. They're determined on your camera, so if you don't face the ring, it's not going to come out of the ground until I get right close to it, like that. Now, unfortunately, that came up a little bit too soon. The idea is that I just jump on top of it as it's coming out of the ground. And so there's lots of like really funky things you can do with the camera that just stop them from coming up to you really close. And yeah, so those rings, there's a bit of RNG with them. So after you do the first ring, where the second one goes, and the third, fourth, and fifth is RNG. But if you go in and out of a room, then it always resets to that first position just by Jinxie there. So yeah, it turns out like a lot of, basically what we're doing is we're not relying on any of the RNG, we're just always getting that ring near Jinxie like over and over. Except for that one that I got near the cacti, because that was just there and it was fast. So if people can guess what time we're going to get here, I'm sure there's probably a few guesses in chat. Almost. 69 is like optimal, but yeah, I barely ever get it. Whoa, that was, never seen that before. So coming up is actually a glitch that's pretty intense. It's called Water Pyramid Clip. Basically, it's a glitch similar to FPLE, basically the same concept. We're going to use it to skip opening the water pyramid and like running up the water pyramid and all that stuff. Overall, it saves about 15 seconds, but there's so many things that can go wrong leading up to it that like it's probably harder than FPLE to incorporate into the run. But recently, and I'm pretty sure it was Funderful, found a setup that's just amazing, and it basically makes this trick free, which is going to be really embarrassing now if I do mess it up, but we'll see how we go. First stage is to not land here, so. This rock, depending on where you hit it, sometimes Banjo will grab the jiggy, but he didn't, so that's good. First step is complete. It's very easy to land on that jiggy. All right, and then we gotta just do a little flip. What? Good. All right, so that was done pretty optimally, so it's about 15 seconds or something. And it completely changes the route through Gobies as well. I'm pretty sure I've actually got all the rings now, so. Yeah, because I got that extra one before, so. Usually you would go over there and get that ring, but it's obviously pretty slow if you've already got that extra one. So we can head straight into King Sandyart's maze, and yeah, this one has a bit of a skip. Luckily I don't have to remember the maze, that would be too hard, so we're just gonna jump over. There's also a skip you can do in that maze with the actual cutscene at the start. So it plays a little cutscene thing when you go in there, just to say, oh no, the spikes are coming down on the roof. But with some really careful jumping, you can skip that. It's pretty ambiguous about how to actually do it, so no one goes for it. And you can get hurt by the sand there if you do a really, really good quick dive. We're going to start the first thing in our long series of ground pounding Gobies back to get things. There's a nice jiggy. And I'm actually kind of low on health here. 3 health is optimal, but yeah. I gotta grab an extra one just to be sure. Here comes Grab a Jiggy. So you're supposed to use running shoes and grab his Jiggy, but Big Bomb's fast enough to grab it. There's also some funky thing you can do with the slope that works, but that's really hard, and it was in like a super old route. That jump there is actually the other kind of tricky thing. I did the water pyramid clip before, but I still have to get all these notes around the edge here. That jump there is actually like deceptively difficult. So it's good to have had that first try. So you can see why I wanted 4 health here. This is a little bit hairy. You can make it with 3, but not in a marathon. And yeah, so it's really important that this route ends on this honeycomb. So after I put 450 skip in, we noticed, well, we're getting the health refill there. So if we had that health refill, we wouldn't be able to die straight away. And if we do it quick enough, we can, which is good. Rare's elaborate cutscene saved us there. Alright, coming up is probably my favorite level in the run, and I'm sure it's everyone else's favorite level. It's Rusty Bucket Bay. I have very fond memories of dying over and over in Engine Room. It's actually really, really fun in the speedrun. There's lots of tiny little tech with the movement you can do, which makes it a very enjoyable level to run. See that coming from a mile away. The scary thing about this level is that the chompers will all take 2 damage if they hit you on the way out of the wall. So yeah, health can be a bit of an issue in this level. Generally, there's just lots of places you can fall and die and drown. It's a very good level. So this is everyone's favorite room, Engine Room. It looks a little bit different in the speedrun than it would casually. We're not going to slow down the fans to get through. There's a button that slows down the fans, but yeah, the fans are spinning fast, but we want to go fast, so we're going to go through them. I might wait for this just to be safe. All right, this is the first switch I have to press. There's this jiggy right at the back of the boat there. You need to stop these fans to get in because they'll just instantly kill you if you don't. You can get that jiggy without pressing the switch, but it's actually, I don't want to say it's slower because the Taz does it, but it's slower for a human to do. Yeah, so this is not intended jumping through the fans like that, but you can take advantage of when Banjo is recovering from damage to jump through. And this coming up is probably like the oldest glitch in the game, window clip. I think someone found it in like 2002 or something. But there you go. And that just lets us get through where we want to be a lot quicker. The weird thing about window clip is there's not really any other glitches like that in the game. Basically what's happening with the window clip is like there is a little gap in the window and Banjo is able to get through it in, like the wall is so thin that Banjo can pass through the wall in less than a frame. Basically like, the way the collision works in this game is like, no matter how fast you're going, you can't just go through a solid wall, even if you're going like 1,000,000 times the normal speed. But you can go through it if there's a little gap, because yeah, rare or funny like that. So there's just a little gap in that wall that you can get through. There's no other situations like that. I might kill this guy. There's no other situations like that unless you're able to like, there's this thing you can do with hacks is like speeding up the game to like 2 or 4 times speed. If you start doing that, then there's a bunch of other walls that Banjo can get through, just like window clip. So this jiggy here was one of the ones that took me ages to get as a kid, this witch switch here, because I didn't realize, like, I was trying to do the jump without Talon Trot. It's easier to jump across if you have Talon Trot, but we were just trying to jump and flutter across, and that jump's actually really hard to make if you don't do that. But yeah. Yes, got it. All right. So that was a frame perfect damage cancel there. If you take damage and grab the jiggy at the same time, you skip the dance. Now, that didn't really save much time because it took me ages to get it, but I'm glad that I could get it in the run today. This is one of the scarier rooms in the level here. There's lots of wall chompers that can get you. This room, it looks scary, it's not too bad, but it actually is really hard on power. It's just another weird version of it. So if you're playing the Australian version and try and do that, it's probably not going to work. And here's another sloper beast that's kind of like termite skip what we saw earlier, like that. The water counts as flat ground there, so you jump over the water and that resets your slope timer, so you can jump on that slippery slope there again. Alright, and also coming up is lifeboat jump. So this trick is another really stupid trick, but for some reason people go for it. Saves like 3 seconds, but you could lose like 20 seconds, so yeah. Basically, just want to jump across this lifeboat here, which you can't see, but it's there. And like it doesn't look too bad, but there's so many ways that it can go wrong. And if you miss it, you're right into the water. You have to like go up to that crane again. It's just awful if you miss it. There's a lot of weird camera shenanigans I'm doing here to avoid lag. This level's actually like really quite laggy, so especially like if you're going into rooms, that circular fade is really slow if it lags. But as I said before, you don't have to really worry when you're just moving around generally about lag. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Wishy Washy gave $37.53. He says, "Hey 8-bit, good luck on the run. I will see you in Bubblewood."
Ooh, thank you. So cleaning up here, and this is the part where like health management is really crucial. I know that I have at least 3 health. I know it's exactly 3 actually, because it will show you if you have 2 or less all the time. But there's this room here that's quite scary. You got to run through a bunch of wall jumpers, and they all take 2 damage. So there's a trick that I could have done in the last room, which would save a bit of time, but it would cost me 2 health. And obviously, I don't want to do that, especially in a marathon when these guys could hit you. Again, those guys hit you a lot more in the PAL version. Luckily, I'm playing the American version. I'm going to free snorkel. He's going to get torn in half by the anchor as it comes up. I don't know how he survived that, but there you go. This is another like weird cutscene skip for the Jiggy. I'm gonna basically do what I was trying to do at the end of Treasure Trove Cove, but hopefully succeed this time. There we go. So if you jump into the Jiggy from the water, it still thinks you're in the water if you haven't touched the ground yet. So it doesn't want to give you the Jiggy dance, which is very nice, because that was the really long Jiggy dance again. You can also do that skip by jumping, like grab the Jiggy and jump into the water with it, but it's much harder. Yeah, this level's really far away from the start of the level, so keeping with the theme, we're going to die at the end. Yeah, so coming up as leaf jump's a really stupid trick. It's in like almost every category, but yeah, you're not really supposed to be able to get up to this leaf, but if you do a really precise high jump, you can get it. You can use this texture on the ground to line up, but it's not perfect. Yeah, there we go. It's not really like that hard, but it can just, if you're on a really good pace run, each high jump costs like 3 or 4 seconds, so it can start to add up very quickly. And I triggered a red cauldron like way earlier in the run, and this is why, because I have to come back 2-click clockwood. And Sonny's going to be opening the level, so if we have any more donations, now's a good time.
No donations, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank UniSA and MOD for letting us use this awesome venue. It's really nice to be central to the city. I know all the runners have enjoyed not having to go far to get here. Yeah, it's been great being open to the public as well.
so here's Clip Clock Wood, which is usually the last level, but we still do have Bubble Clip after this as well. Basic premise of this level is you have to go through this tree area in each of the 4 different seasons. So we've got spring first up, and yeah, it's also the shortest. Interesting thing is this is actually what taught me the seasons when I was younger. Yeah, I found it very useful. Normally people would actually go the other way around this tree right now, but I'm going to take a marathon safe route here. Pretty much what I'm doing is something called soft lock strat later on, and as the name might suggest, there's a possibility that I soft lock, so yeah, I'm gonna be pretty careful here, just making sure. Basically, what will happen with soft lock strat is if I do soft lock, I'll have to reset and come back to Click Clock Wood, but what I'm going to do now is grab all of the notes so that if I soft lock, I still have all 100. Because normally if you have to reset on soft lock strat, you'll only have like 95 notes or something, and you would have to get all 100 in the level again, because this game only saves your best note score for like 1 playthrough of the level, not just every time. So that cost me a bit of extra time there, but it's not a big deal. I'll just, I mean, it's better than like having to play all of Click Clock Wood again if I mess it up. This is Eerie, or as some people would say, Irie. Yeah, we're gonna have to feed him worms in every season, so Click Clock Wood is actually pretty time consuming in terms of that. All right, now this thing that I'm gonna do here, first of all, I'm gonna get these other 2 notes just as a safety. Normally you wouldn't get these 2 here. We're gonna get hit during the cutscene and then it's gonna let us move. And that basically just lets us get to where we want to go without kind of waiting for this cutscene to be over. So this is where I want to go. I'm gonna use this slope here to get out of bounds. And the whole point of that slope is that it just saves us from walking back here. Saves us a good 10 or 20 seconds by doing that clip there. The idea with that clip that I did on the slope is when you jump and land on the slope, Banjo is like still thinking that he's falling downwards. So his actual downward speed is increasing on that slope, and eventually his downward speed is just so big that he falls through the gap there. Fun fact about those birds, they actually get bigger each season, so every time it's a little bit harder to jump around them. By the time you hit autumn, you can't even jump around them anymore without losing a whole heap of time. So Gobi's generously fed the flower there, and he's gonna, like, not in this season, but in the next one, he'll complain and say that he's off to the lava world, which I always found pretty interesting as a kid, because, like, where is the lava world? He does turn up in Hailfire Peaks and Tui, but yeah, I think there's a bit of a theory that he may have gone to the lava world if that was in Kazooie, because they did originally plan for there to be like 16 levels rather than 9 in this game. So yeah, I guess they just ran out of time and put it in Tui instead. So this house is not quite built yet, so the jiggy in there is quite scary to grab. You can grab it in autumn, and I think that's what they intended for you to do. Like, Rare probably thought, oh yeah, they'll look across the house in summer, see that jiggy, but they'll wait till autumn when the house is done to grab it. But yeah, it's quicker to grab it in summer because there's notes there in front of the house that you have to get anyway, so you don't really go there in autumn. So Neri only took 5 caterpillars there, but next season he's going to be even hungrier and need 10. Luckily we can actually use some of the summer caterpillars for autumn, so that one there is going to feed him in autumn. This game is a very well hidden Jinjo and then went on with summer. Funny thing happened with that Jinjo actually. There was a runner who forgot that Jinjo. Basically what happened is they had to get it at the end of Click Clock Wood. But that led to like this massive glitch discovery in this game, which was Jiggy despawning. It's kind of complicated to explain like without visuals, but basically what can happen in this game is like sometimes we were just grabbing G's and the game was randomly crashing, and that was pretty bad. So we wanted to figure out what was happening, and it turns out that what was happening is if Banjo is like holding a Jiggy in his hand, then the game sort of holds on to that information. It's like, all right, Jiggy's object number 40 in this room, let's say. So once Banjo's done the dance, we'll delete object number 40. That's putting it, oversimplifying a bit, but that's basically what's happening. So what you can actually do is, with the Jiggy in Banjo's hands, if you die at the same time, then it still holds on to that object 40 or whatever that it had. And then if you grab another Jiggy, but you skip the dance, it tries to delete whatever that object was. So you can get some really crazy effects with Jiggy despawn. Basically what happened to this guy is that he died on that Jinjo Jiggy I was talking about earlier in Click Clock Wood. And then he like went and grabbed the Jiggy outside of Click Clock Wood as the B after that. Turns out he actually despawned the 765 note door. So yeah, you can use G spawning to like get rid of note doors and stuff, and like get rid of other objects, just like little objects all over the level. Now, unfortunately, we haven't actually found a use for Jiggy despawning yet, like in a run, just because it's so long to set up, and you don't often want to delete objects. But yeah, that was King KC who found that, and like just him randomly messing up the route to Click Clock Wood one time led to a major discovery in the game. It's funny how these things happen. Gobi is there, and I could ground pound his back to feed the flower, but that cutscene's long, so we're going to skip it, and we'll see what happens in spring. So normally you feed the flower in spring, summer, and autumn, and you get the Jiggy in autumn, but we can actually get it in spring using a glitch that we'll see shortly. I'm just collecting all these acorns for Napnut now. These have notoriously bad hit detection, as you can see. So sometimes you can miss them, and it's a pain. It's only really that one that I missed there that's annoying. But I would like to actually go through and figure out sort of what's going on with these acorns, because it seems like you can go straight through them and not get them sometimes. That there, what I did was just like some tiny little thing, like every time you come out of a loading zone, like a window or something, like there or in Mad Monster Mansion, you have this one frame where you can jump, and that window is like 1/30th of a second. So the weird thing is Banjo's often like facing the wrong direction when he first comes out, but luckily there he's facing the right direction. There's like heaps of tiny little optimizations you can do like that, like getting those jumps. Just saves a little bit of time, because in this game, like you're in Talon Trot basically all the time, and Banjo takes a while to speed up Talon Trot. Like here, if I start walking, it just takes a little while to get to full speed. But if you jump, you're at full speed instantly. So that's why you have to hear this annoying jump noise like over and over and over, because it just makes us at full speed over and over and over. Whereas if we were just walking, it would take us a while to speed up. And you have to keep jumping, because when you jump, you slide on the ground, and at the end of that slide, you lose a bunch of speed. So yeah, you just have to keep jumping as well. You get used to it if you play the game a lot. All right, so Eerie is fed, and if we see him in winter, he gives us a jiggy. And there was a whole thing going on there. I was trying to reduce lag as well with what way the camera was pointing. Yeah. If you don't do that lag reduction, feeding Eerie there is very, very slow. Now coming into winter, so like spring and summer and autumn are a little bit of a snooze fest, but winter actually starts getting interesting again. And from this point, the run is like be weird. Basically, like, so we're normally supposed to swim under this ice here in winter to get to Naughty, the beaver's house, and get a honeycomb. But we'll be doing some glitches to skip that. But winter is a whole bunch of flying. It's the only season that actually lets you fly. And yeah, like when new runners learning this game all the time, they often have trouble with flying. If you're ever playing it casually, like hold R, that's the key basically. But like beak bombing based on where your camera is, so like stuff like this is very, very inconsistent. And you can often get hit as well, which is nice. And yeah, like the actual like getting height and turning around with flying is always really tricky. think I messed that up a little bit actually. Let's hope it still works. So feeding Irie, and he's going to give us a Jiggy, but the trick is we need to grab this in flying. Yeah, that's always really difficult because you only have, like, go too low and you hit the ground here, and you want to keep flying. Luckily the Jiggy's bouncing a bit there, which makes it easier, but it's still non-trivial. All right. Okay, and that area is really laggy, so you can often drop that flutter and not make it into the window. It's never fun if that happens. All right, coming up is the actual, like, really interesting part of Winter. We're going to do 2 flying clips back to back. These are similar to what we did for FP earlier on. Both these clips are, like, easy, but messing them up is really bad. So it's quite a tense situation. All right, there's our first one. So this skips swimming under the ice, but of course we need to still get out of this room when we're done. Oh. All right, now this. All right, exactly enough feathers, good. There we go, and we're out of the room. Thanks. But don't celebrate too soon. We've still got softlock strat to do. And as you saw, I got the 100th note there, and that was because normally you'd have about 94, 93 by now. But if I mess up softlock strat, then I don't want to have to get all 100 notes again. So. Normally we go the other way around the tree and grab those other notes now, but I've already got them, so. All right. So basically, you can poop eggs into this flower in spring, and you're not supposed to be able to do that. So what I got to do is I just got to lure these bees away. So hopefully they'll go back to their home spot there. You can poop eggs into this flower in spring, but the cutscene that you get when you do it is broken. So it spawns a Jiggy, but it's broken. So this cutscene never ends now. So I have to make it to Mumbo's blind. There we go. There's a whole bunch of sound cues going on there to know what you're doing. And like, based on how difficult that trick is to learn, I don't have much hope for playing this game blindfolded like some other games. Oh yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong, so. So the reason you have to do that blind is because the cutscene doesn't end, because it's a glitchy cutscene. But what that cutscene actually did was it allowed me to spawn this Jiggy here. So normally you'd get that Jiggy in autumn, but you saw how much quicker it was to grab it as a bee there than Banjo would be. So we're finished up with the level. Now we're stuck in this beehive, hopefully grabbing the Jiggy. And we want to get out, so the bee is pretty good at clipping. Yeah, 3. All right, now here's where the run gets really interesting is RBA time. So Click Clock Wood is the last level casually, but it's certainly not going to be the last level in this run, so. There's a bit of serious time with this door here. If I open this door, it's very bad. So I'm gonna be very careful here not to do that. And we're clipped out. Thank you. It's not hard, but it's very bad if you mess it up. And that was Stibbity Bobo that found that. Before, getting the bee out of that area was PAL only, so you could only do it on the Australian or European versions. Now you can do it on the American version. So basically what I'm doing with this bee now is just going and cleaning up all the Jiggies that I didn't get as Banjo through the lair. And then we're gonna finish up by clipping into Bubble Gloop Swamp as the bee. And that saves actually opening Bubble Gloop Swamp, which takes like 70 seconds. Far too long for a speed run. Got this Jiggy. Yeah, so doing this all these shenanigans with the bee saves about 1.5 minutes in total. As you can see, I got a very comfortable grip for holding this controller with the B. I ran a lot of any percent, and the B plays a much bigger role in any percent. Yeah, I got pretty used to movement as the B. Whereas really in this category, we have like 3 or 4 minutes as the B, then we're done. But any percent does like 3 entire levels as the B, because you just go clip into all the levels and grab all the notes. All right. And we're in bubble glue. So when I first came up with this route, I was thinking like, well, what could the B grab in bubble gloop and what could Banjo grab? And so I spent ages trying to find this route that worked really well. But it turns out what's actually fastest to do is to just, oh, I messed that honeycomb up. It's to just basically turn back into Banjo and then die and then do the old route. So all that effort was gone to waste. But yeah, I mean, it works out that that's faster. The whole problem is it's really hard to get out of this area as Banjo after, so yeah. The B can grab that honeycomb there as well, but for some reason I messed it up. So now it's gonna look like old bubble gloop swamp route. So that croctus that I just spawned there, his mouth is opening and closing right now, and that's actually going to determine how fast I can get through this bit. So there's a few cycly things like that leaf there as well, but basically this first part of the level is always determined on how quick you make it to that croctus. The good thing about having bubble gloop so late in the run is that we have a lot of health, so we don't really have to worry about jumping through this swamp water to grab all these notes. Well, we got the health to spare. So when this route actually came in, we used to use wading boots for this really big section of the level, and they like don't make you take damage, but they do make you move pretty slow. And then like when this route came in, we just went for it and just took the damage. So that was really nice. Normally you would only have, I guess, 7 health at this point, but we have 8 here now. And another very recent thing as well is we used to grab this Jiggy as Banjo, but now we grab it as a crocodile instead because it can skip the dance. Even though it's a whole bunch of extra movement, this actually works out to be faster just barely. These are the hut jumps too, which I really do not like hut jumps. And they're right at the end of the run now, so it's pretty bad if you miss them. We don't do this hut jump. You can jump from this hut up to here, but it's really inconsistent. And so this bit here is the whole thing I was talking about with the wading boots. We used to get wading boots on the top of this crocodile here, but now, because we just got so much health, we can just go across this swamp casually as Banjo. Not only do we have like a lot more maximum health than the old route, but we get a honeycomb refill in this level now. So like when we get our last honeycomb in this level, we're gonna refill our health all the way. So that'll be really good. believe it or not, according to the lore of this game, Tank Top actually enjoys you doing this to his feet. So, something I'll never understand. The camera's good in this game most of the time. So, as with softlock strap before, I got hit in a cutscene and that let me move. I'm basically going to do the same thing here, but without taking damage, so... I was a little bit early. Pretty much what can happen is you bounce off of him during this cutscene, and then you can start pounding in the pattern as he's showing you the pattern. And I kind of hope that I remember that. Pretty sure I do. I'm pretty bad at like forgetting to watch that first pattern. Alright, and the pattern gets longer and more difficult each time, and it's random, so. Yellow, cyan, pink, red, cyan. And you basically want the turtles to be close, because obviously that means you have to go less far to hit them. So the first 3 turtles were good, but this one not so much, and neither about this one. That's not too bad. Alright. Blue, purple, yellow, pink, blue, purple, cyan. The other fun thing about this is on my CRT at home, the purple and the blue turtle look exactly the same color, so it always makes it pretty difficult. But yeah, it's kind of weird because most of the games are preset, like the memory game in Gobius, but that one's just random for whatever reason. And we're going to get our health refilled here. So now we're going to take a whole lot more damage in the swamp water leading to Mumbo. And this is where the health route gets really, really precise. So what's going to happen here is, so I want to basically be down on 1 health for Mr. Vile. Now that I think about it, I was going to do something different in the marathon, so I might not, but I'm going to be on 3 health for Vile anyway. So I'll tell you what would normally happen anyway. So we'd normally take a damage just before these boots. And then, so in this maze, we're actually going to take a lot of damage because, as you can see, the boots move really slowly. So once these boots run out, I'm not going to bother getting any more boots. And then yeah, so I should have 3 health right now. And you would take 1 on the flame in Mumbo's skull here, but I'm not going to, because if I mess up Mr. Vile, he takes, like he chomps you and takes 2 health, so I don't really want to be on 1 health for Mr. Vile in a marathon. You can, if you lose a Vile round, you can kind of get out of there before he chomps you, but if you're on like round 3 and you run away before he chomps you, then you go back to round 1. So that's never good. All right, Mr. Vile is basically a 3-minute auto-scroller, so if there are any donations, now's the perfect time. Yeah.
So we've got 2 donations. First one from Jigsaw Master gave $54.06. He says, "Thank you for the awesome runs. Love what you guys are doing." Smiley face. And a $5.97 donation from Anonymous, who just says 4K hit. And speaking of 4K, we've just passed 4K in total in donations. Big round of applause.
Just like Banjo-Kazooie likes to rubber band, so I may be very far behind now, but that's actually a good thing. Right at the end, if you go really as good as you can, he goes really fast. So yeah, actually, if you don't try, it's easier. It's kind of weird. But the runners used to do Mr. Vile without the running shoes, because Bubble Gloop Swamp would be before Gobi's Valley, where you would get running shoes. But ever since FFM was found, we've always had Mr. Vile with running shoes. So there's a bit of a joke going around the community that the runners who came to the game after FFM are really bad at Mr. Vile, because they never had to do the hard version. Let's go to the third round, and like he's gonna change up what type of yumbly or grumbly we have to eat, and it's pretty predictable because it happens whenever the timer hits a multiple of 10 seconds. Yeah, this round's actually like almost easier than the first two because you can plan out a bit more in advance what you're gonna eat. The only real speed tech in this fight, this mini game, is to get him to end closer to the door, but that didn't really happen there. You can kind of manipulate him by like eating all the ones closer to the back of the room so he gets closer to the front, but more often than not, you're just trying not to lose. So, yeah. Alright, and this dragonfly can either be really good or really bad. So often you're trying to avoid the dragonflies, but in this case it's actually kind of hard to get the dragonfly to hit you. So of course it had to be this dragonfly that we want to get hit by. Normally you only have 1 health here, so it's a little bit easier. There we go. That's the last level of the run. Not an awful pace through this, certainly not a PV pace run, but I was happy that I could show off things like TTC early and like some marathon safety stuff, like the soft lock route being different. Alright, so coming up is the Furnace Fun quiz, and this used to be like the worst part of the run, because Grungy can ask you these questions in the quiz, and it's all these facts about her, like these very personal facts, and like that's fine, but they're random every new file you start. Like what the answer was is random, so like we would always have trouble because there would be this massive chunk of RNG, and you can ask her sister Brentilda the answers as you're going through the game, but that takes time. So it was better to just go through and guess, basically. We went through this whole thing where we had this Furnace Fun calculator, and like we were calculating the probabilities of what's the most likely answer, and it was just a mess. But then I think even earlier this year it was Ninpulk, who's, I guess, well, I definitely know him mainly from ukulele speedrunning. He was picking up and learning this game, and he basically found this new skip that I'm about to do, and it revolutionized the game. This skip that I'm about to do, there is just a flat 23% chance that it will fail and kill the run. So yeah, watch out for that. But if it succeeds, that completely cuts out any real significant RNG from Furnace Fun. And I always felt a little bit, yeah, didn't hear that. I always felt a little bit bad about talking to Brentilda in the run. So I'm glad now that basically we're not killing any time to reduce RNG. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get into Talon Trot, and there's this tiny little seam between the squares that you can do that. It's like 1 unit wide. Yeah, I got it, but I was on the wrong square. There we go. All right, and of course I got a picture question, and so this is the 20% chance thing that can happen. What I'm gonna have to do here is answer this correctly. You're supposed to answer it wrong, but basically what happens with that skip is you're in Talon Trot, so if you get the question wrong on a death square, which that was, the game tries to throw you off the board and kill you. But like, it tries to throw you off the board and kill you, but if you're in Talon Trot, it doesn't really know what to do, so it just like bounces Banjo on the spot. And yeah, so I have to do it on this death square now. But yeah, the only thing you can go wrong is if you get a picture question, because that kind of puts you out of Talon Trot. So this is fine, so I have to get it wrong, and then Banjo just stays there. And because it threw you off, it took all the invisible walls down, so now we can just run to the end. Yeah, so that's an Ninpulk skip, and it saved like 2 minutes and cut out a massive chunk of RNG. Thank you. Bit of a meme getting a picture question, but it happens sometimes. Yeah. It's killed a few PB attempts, that's for sure. Now there's this stupid trick you can do which saves 7 seconds and nobody does it. It's called Door of Grunty Skip. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So it already wasn't worth it because I've taken more than 7 seconds. Oh. Yeah, so what's going on with that one is you're clipping out of bounds, and you basically have this one frame to make the jump, and then you can jump around the door. It's useful in any percent, but not, because like the puzzle's right there and I have enough jiggies to open it, so it's not so much in 100% very useful. But there it is. And yeah, so the room doesn't load properly. That doesn't actually affect anything at all, it's just visual. But yeah, nobody really goes for Door of Grunty Skip in 100% seriously. I mean, it does save 7 seconds if you get it first try, but you saw how long it took there, and like, I had to get really good at that trick for any percent, so like, it's usually not worth it. So we need 4 feathers at least to beat Grunty, and I have 7, so this route cuts feathers really close. But luckily you can pick up some extras just along the way. What happened there is I ground pounded and you're invincible for a little bit after the ground pound. Yeah, you can use that to avoid taking fall damage as well. Yeah, so this is why 7 feathers is scary, because yeah, this can happen. Alright, so I'm gonna need to get some more feathers after. In fact, I might even just duck out and grab those now. Oh, wow, okay, that could have been pretty bad. The golden rule here is never big bum down, and I just broke that, and hopefully you can see why. Of course you would stop. Yeah, it's not the best Grunty fight, but I think I've only got 1 hit left on her, so I don't need that many feathers. So the safety strat for this fight is to take the feather door. You can get a full refill just before Grunty, but I was silly and didn't take that. But anyway, coming up here is Jinjo's statue cutscene skip, whatever you want to call it. Basically, a statue's going to come up here, and I'll put Bex into it as it's coming up. Not quite. And it's almost a good thing that I missed that, because there's this really awful thing that can happen if you get it. Sometimes if you get it, but if you get it at the last moment, you can get something called, like, well, you can get a soft lock in Grunty fight. And yeah, what happens if you do that skip wrong is that basically the other statue doesn't activate properly. So you go to shoot eggs into this one, and it just doesn't take your eggs. What happens if you get a soft lock is you actually have to, like, die and do the whole fight again. So it's pretty bad. And her fireballs there, they like trace your path as a straight line. So if you run in like a circle, then the fireballs never hit you. Because if you imagine, like, the tangent to the circle is always going out in that direction. And this I can trick her by just turning around after she throws the fireballs. Alright, and time will be coming up when I shoot the last egg into Jinjunator. That'll play a little cutscene. So I'll try and let you know closer to when that happens. It's like 15 seconds away. And I just need 5 eggs in this hole and then it's time. Cool. Well, thanks for having me. So that's 100% all notes, honeycombs, jiggies. If you want to learn it, Discord is great, and the speedrun.com page has heaps of resources. So be sure to check out the next microgame mini-thon, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, the 8-bitbeast, for that wonderful run. Up next, we've got Potato Handle with a microgame mini.
Yeah.